Yes, people. United, we ball back on the Final Third YouTube channel. Let some people lock in first before I really get started. I know it's international break and I've kind of distanced, but I put a little space between me and United recently just because it's very toxic. It's a very toxic relationship. You can't go on with the intensity when we're losing and we're playing rubbish. It's tough. You gotta give yourself some space, some time to recollect, get your thoughts together. That's what I've done. And I thought, let's have a little United We Ball show during the international break, just so I can kind of get the thoughts across. State of play, as this episode's called. Look out, because there's a lot of topics I'm going around United right now in terms of the manager, Pogba, Rooney getting into a Hall of Fame. There's a couple of topics I want to touch on during this episode. So let's get them out during the international break. Once again, if this is your first time listening to the Final Third, watching the Final Third, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and also smash the like button. We love it when you smash the like button. We love it when you hit the subscribe button. But, oh yeah, another thing. Big up Jules. Big up Jules. If you followed our pages, if you followed Julie's pages, you would have seen that she was part of the Arsenal women's new shirt promotion, which was flipping massive. Global promotion, big Jules is part of. So big up Julie. Stella McCartney kit. Stella McCartney helped design the kit. These lot promoted it. Steely was out there doing the modeling thing, doing the little post. Big up Julie, man. What do you know about that? Doing the pot. Come on, man. Put some respect on the name. Big up Julie doing the modeling thing for Arsenal women, the new kit. Go check it out. Hype Beast. Go on Hype Beast Instagram page if you haven't seen the pictures. They're so cold. So make sure you go check that out. Let's get into it. So according to reports recently, the likes of Daka, Fabrizio Romano have all stated that Erik ten Hag actually interviewed for the Manchester United job as recently as Monday. So it seems as if he's interested in the role at least. There's a lot of people that thought maybe maybe United would be too toxic. He wouldn't really want to step into that sort of jungle. Hey, he's interested. That's the first step. Apparently, though, there's going to be more interviews to go on during the week. Mr. Austin saying, boo, Man United, boo. Lad, man, well, we're in pain right now. We got to spill some pain juice, man. Got to let me get my pain out. Get well soon, Arsenal is going to be back soon. You lot can have your little celebration moment there. For now, we're in our pain bag. But apparently, there's no front runner as of yet. We're still going to interview the likes of Mauricio Pochettino, Julian Lopetegui, who's currently the Sevilla manager, and also Luis Enrique, who's also the Spain manager right now. So right now, there's currently 4 main candidates. Thomas Tuchel's apparently not one of them, despite all of the turmoil or whatever that's going on at Chelsea. Apparently, he's not really being considered because it's just not realistic. And I kind of agree. It seems like he's willing to fight it out at Chelsea in terms of, despite the sanctions and the turmoil and the change of ownership, he's looking like he wants to continue building something at Chelsea, and a move to Manchester United, who's in the middle of a rebuild, and in comparison to Chelsea, who are much closer to the top of the table than we are in terms of not only position but also structure and squad. So it'd be, as Jamie Carragher said, it would be very ambitious from United. It'll be a great move from United, but I just don't see it happening from a Tuchel point of view, where he'd give up Chelsea despite all the problems they're going through in order to come manage United. It just doesn't seem realistic. Looking at the managers that we are linked to, though, I'm going to start with Ten Hag. I'm going to get some points across with all 4 managers, just in terms of logistics and my own personal thoughts on whether I think they'd be a fit at United. Ten Hag, obviously, I think that's the fans' favourite at this point. We've all seen the job that he's done with Ajax, not only in the Eredivisie but also in the mainly in the Champions League. Because if we're being very honest, the Eredivisie is not one of the top 5 leagues in Europe, but you can't discount the work that he's done in the Champions League, in the league competition, batting up big teams and putting big teams to sleep. So it's not like they're watches and fugazi, because they've done in the Champions League. And how many teams have really like been able to bat up the Champions League? Not many. I say bat up the Champions League. They have gone out in the group stages. I'm more thinking back to their 2019 run. Even here, they went out disappointingly against Benfica, but you still think about the football that they're able to play, and you think about how it could translate to Manchester United, and it is a nice. It gives you positive thoughts. It's a nice thought being able to transition to something more structured. Again, when I think of Ten Hag's style, though, because I did a bit of reading up recently on how tactically he likes to play. And of course, it involved a lot of build up from the back, a lot of verticality, as you can imagine with Dutch managers. So similar to what Ralph Ragnick preached when he first came, counter pressing, trying to win the ball back quickly once we lose the ball. But also the interesting thing I thought about was the third man runs and the off the ball movement that's needed to make his system successful. And it made me think about this United team, and it just made me think about how would these lot react to having to make runs, and like you made the run, but it's not for you, it's for your teammate. And I don't want to call this United team selfish, but I can't see them like the players that we have right now. That's why the rebuild is so important, and getting the right players in is so important. Because with this team right here, I can't see them consistently making the run to help out their teammate, knowing that run is gonna get ignored. It's not even the ball ain't meant to come to you. The ball's meant to go to someone else. But are you willing to consistently make those runs knowing you're not going to get the ball? Are you willing to consistently expend that energy knowing you're not going to get the ball? And with this United team, I just don't like the fact that, just in terms of fitness, I don't think they can continue doing that for 90 minutes. This United team right here, that's what's going to make this rebuild so scary. Because if it is Ten Hag, he's going to have his own ideas and his own ideals and things he wants to do. And the squad we have right now, I just don't think they're capable of carrying that out. I don't think they're capable, which is going to mean similar to, I don't want to compare it to straight to what it was like during Klopp's first couple years at Liverpool, but is I feel like it's going to be very similar, where manager may be asking certain things of the players and they're just not able to carry it out. But you can't get rid of everybody at one go. You just can't do it. That's not how rebuilds work. So next season, if it is Ten Hag, again, I preface it with if it is, because we don't know if it's going to be. If it is Ten Hag, then it's not going to be smooth sailing, and it's not going to be straight away we're jumping out the blocks. Because quite frankly, I don't see this team as being the type of team that's going to be able to carry out his instructions from the get-go. Whether it's fitness, whether it's desire to make those runs, whether it's the actual ability to make those runs, I don't know. But I just don't see this team being able to pull that off consistently for Ten Hag, which means that it's going to be a process of him having to identify his own players, the players that he wants, and being able to bring them in, which is not going to be a quick process. Which is why you can't rush a rebuild. You genuinely can't rush a rebuild, because imagine you buy the wrong type of player in the summer, all because you wanted to replace the players here, and then they don't work out. The players you buy have to be the right ones, otherwise there's no point. Don't rush it. You cannot rush this process. Um, there's still doubts for me in terms of Ten Hag. Again, this is going to be his first step up to the Premier League, and this isn't me saying the Premier League is some. It is a gauntlet, and is an unrelentless gauntlet. But there's managers that's come from lower leagues and done well and performed well. But this is going to be a whole different kettle of fish. It's going to be a whole different kettle of fish for Ten Hag. So it's not going to be, again, the situation in Ajax where you've got the structure in place. He's kind of having to come in and build that possibly alongside Ralph, depending on how this consultancy thing goes, which I'll talk about a bit later on. But it's not going to be straightforward for him. I don't think he would have ever been really in this sort of situation where he's had to build up the culture like this. He's had to build the culture. He's going to have to retrain these players. Because again, you've got the Ajax Academy, where they all come out of the academy playing the same way. They're all coached to play the same way. So by the time they get into the first team, they've already got these ideals. It's already automatic for a lot of them, which makes the step up to the first team a lot smoother than it would be at a lot of other clubs. For Ten Hag, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time. And the thing is, and I think a lot of United fans would agree with me on this, where it's gotta be with our eyes now. It's gotta be with our eyes. We can't roll with our hearts no more, because that's how we get it broken. That's how we get it broken. So many times over the last decade, we've looked at a player or we've looked at a manager and thought there's potential there. There's an idea there. I really like the idea. I want to believe in it, so I'm going to believe in it. I'm going to ride it all the way through. That's how Marshall FC came about. That's how Player FC come about. I think we've gone past that now, and I think a lot of United fans would agree with me in the sense that it can't be the potential. It can't be, oh, I feel like this could happen. This is why I'm backing it. We need to be very, very, very objective with what we're seeing over the next 2 or 3 years. Very, very objective. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves in exactly the same hole that we found ourselves in, the repetitive cycle. We're going to find ourselves in the same cycles that we've done so for the last decade, where we're believing something's going to happen. We're believing, and we just believe it has to happen. It has to happen. There's no way it's not going to happen. There's no way Martial's not going to become one of the best nines in the world. There's no way Rashford's not going to take the leap. There's no way this midfield isn't going to prosper. There's no way this centre back isn't going to take us. Like, we have to be very, very objective with what we see on the pitch. We have to look at what we see on the pitch. And of course, preface it with the fact that it is a rebuild and it's not going to be perfect. But just automatically believing that, yeah, it's going to happen. Don't worry about the fact that we're not maintaining possession right now, or don't worry about the fact that we're not creating the chances right now. It's going to happen eventually in the future. Mm-mm. The time for that is gone. Be very, very, very objective, because again, if Ten Hag does come, this is going to be the first time, me included, this is going to be the first time we see one of Ten Hag teams coached consistently. This is going to be the first time we see one of Ten Hag's teams coached. Right now, I won't lie to you, a lot of people are living off comps. A lot of people, including myself, apart from Champions League nights and the odd Eredivisie game, like, I won't lie to you, it's not like I tune into Eredivisie every single weekend. I don't. So a lot of us are living off reports, of comps, of ideas. So when we see Ten Hag in the flesh, if we see Ten Hag in the flesh, we have to be very objective with what we're seeing. Very, very objective. Don't say, oh yeah, he's gonna be the next one. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what we're seeing right now. Give him his players, and it's all gonna work out perfectly. No, be very objective, be truthful. If you still want to believe while you're being truthful, then fair enough. But I've seen it with a lot of rebuilds where we just believe that it has to happen because United eventually has to get it right, and we eventually have to get back to the top. It don't work like that at all. It don't work like that. We eventually have to get it right by being honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves. If we're not honest with ourselves, then boy, eventually we'll just fall back into the same cycle of, yeah, it's, we bring this player through, we give Ten Hag this player, it's gonna be fine. But I'm gonna move on to a second candidate. Apparently, so this is what's interesting to me. Apparently, we're gonna interview Pochettino, but I just don't see how that happens if he hasn't been sacked by PSG. I don't see PSG just letting us talk to their manager Firstly, because it creates chaos in their own camp. Second of all, it's sort of a disrespect. It's sort of a you're in our job right now and you're already thinking about the United job. We're supposed to be one of the biggest clubs in the world, and you're disrespect. I don't see it happening. I don't. Someone's gonna have to tell me the logistics of that one because I don't get how we're gonna be able to interview Pochettino. But aside from that, just in terms of the manager, I don't think it's unfair to say that Pochettino had Spurs performing well outside of their capabilities. He built a team that is not like he threw bags and bags of money. He didn't have bags and bags of money to throw at it. He built a team off of very good coaching and very strong beliefs. And it nearly took them, it took them to some title runs. It took them to a Champions League final. Again, Tottenham don't do title runs. Tottenham don't do Champions League finals. So when people put the disrespect on Pochettino's time at Spurs, I'd always take it with a pinch of salt because you tell me one other manager that's doing that for Spurs on the budget that Pochettino done. Yeah, he didn't get over the line, and that's going to be a stick to beat him with. Fair enough, because you want somebody to win it for you. You want to win you want to win the big ones. But you tell me one manager that's taken Tottenham to that point, that you've got to give him his props and his credit for that. And a lot of people, including myself, said give him a better situation, give him a situation where he can spend some money and get a better quality of player in, and it will work out for him. Again, for me, it just felt like a natural next step. If he's allowed to bring in his own quality of player, his own type of player, there's no way he doesn't go on to be very, very successful. In comes PSG. And my thing is, I don't want to judge a manager off their time at PSG because I've said that before, like is very, very toxic at PSG, and it's a business structure that don't really make sense. You've got a sporting director in Leonardo that doesn't really work with the manager in building a squad. He works by himself in picking players and bringing them to the Parc de Prince, and saying, "Work with this." I don't know. Work with this. I need you. I brought this player here. You need to work with this. It's not like there's some sort of collaboration going on where I say I want this type of player. It doesn't seem like that at PSG. It doesn't seem like that at all. So it's not the most ideal situation to step in. And on the one hand, you say Pochettino, you've seen other managers go through this at PSG, so you kind of knew what you're stepping into, and that's fair enough. To be fair, that's fair enough. But still, the situation at PSG is not the greatest one to measure a manager's capabilities because, as we see, Tuchel, who um didn't manage to go all the way with PSG and was what I think he was losing out in the title race, got sacked in like December because he was second to Lille and wasn't really performing with PSG, and he's obviously gone on to do the mad thing with Chelsea. So it's like, again, we're not going to fully judge a manager on his time at PSG, but at the same time, Poch, there's just some things that you've got to hold as a manager. As a man, you've got to hold that yourself. You just got to hold it yourself because some like I get it. It's not all your team. It's not all your players, but some of the performances. I watched them away at Monaco on Sunday. Was it Sunday? It was Sunday. Away at Monaco on Sunday. Monaco's not a great, like, we remember the 2016, 2017 Monaco. They're not them anymore. They're not them at all. And this PSG team got walked about by them. That genuinely walked about. I don't know whether there's still a hangover from the Champions League. These don't feel like their season's basically done. But that wasn't a normal performance. Like, this is literally PSG struggling against a struggling team, getting popped about by struggling. That 3-0 was very, 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 very reflective of the score of the match. It wasn't a smash and grab 3-0 or oh, it was balanced and it can't. No. And it's just a case where you've got to show me more. Like, I get it, but you've got to show me more. And I feel like that's why a lot of United fans have kind of moved away from the Pochettino hype, because it feels like our process needs something fresh right now. It needs something fresh. It feels like it needs something else. And again, it needs something where the players aren't expecting. I feel like with Pochettino, it's already been reported out, like little leaks and stories and whatnot. I don't know how true it is. I won't say it's definitely true, but it seems like Pochettino's is the player's favorite to take over, and that's spooky in itself. I cannot lie to you. That's spooky in itself. Pochettino being the player's favorite to take over, that kind of turned me off already, because first of all, 60% of this squad shouldn't be here anyway. So if they're advocating for a manager, no, no, then cat is already pushing me away from you. It'd be even spookier. Like, again, I'd feel the same way if they were all pushing for Ten Hag. I'd think, what do you lot know about what to do with this man? Like, what do you lot know? You lot just stay in that little box right there. Don't worry, we're gonna deal with you eventually. We're gonna get rid of most of you eventually. That's how I feel with Pochettino. Like, it can't, then for the next manager, they can't make it comfortable. They cannot make it comfortable for the players. That's the absolute worst thing you can do. And I know they can't explicitly say it, but it'll pain me so much if Ten Hag comes out and says something like, "Oh, this is a great set of players. I feel like we can win the league with this set of players," or "I don't feel like I need to change much with this set of players." Don't lie to us. Don't lie to us. Don't do it. Don't do it. Be honest. I know you can't say you want to get rid of half the squad because it crashes their market value. But at the same time, you have to be honest and say some of these lot can't come on this journey with us. Some of these lot cannot move forward with United. That's fair enough. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying some of these players just simply cannot roll. You're not rolling. You're not rolling. I feel like with Pochettino, I don't know whether it's the PTSD from Spurs, where until the final couple seasons, he was never really pushing for Daniel Levy to spend that extra bit of cash that could have possibly taken Tottenham over the top. He never really pushed until the final couple seasons, and we can't let him come in and make it easy for Richard Arnold or for the Glazers or whatever. The next manager has to put the pressure on in terms of identifying that this squad is not where it needs to be, and it needs major surgery, needs major reconstructive surgery. And the next manager just cannot hide away from that. If they do, again, we talk about cycles. We've been through the cycle where we pretend as if everything's okay. We pretend as if this squad is manageable. It's not. It's not. Despite the millions and millions and millions we've spent, the squad just is not manageable, and it needs a refresh. It needs a revamp. I'll quickly talk about the two Spanish candidates. The two Spanish candidates. First one, Luis Enrique, Spain manager. I don't see it happening. I feel like he's too comfy in that Spain job. He's got them playing the style of football that he wants. They're going to be one of the favourites for World Cup 2022. They've got a good bunch of youth coming through. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I'd love it. But I don't see why he'd leave that Spain job. I don't see it. Um, Lopetegu, less well versed with him, but again, it's someone I'd be willing to look into. I'd be willing to look into again. Um, wanted Anthony Martial. That's, I don't know whether that's a good sign or a bad sign. I'll leave it at that. But um, in terms of Lopetegu, I'm on the fence with him. I'm not. I won't lie to you. I'm not exactly pushing for him. His Sevilla side do okay. They're again, they dropped into Europa League. Or was it? Did they start? I think they started in Europa League. I can't remember, but Yeah, no, I'm not really too pushed on Lopetegui. I can't lie. It's not really moving me. It's not what's getting me, not getting me hyped for the next season. Lopetegui, yeah, I can't lie. He's probably of the four that I've said, it's probably bottom of my list. What's probably even more important than the manager's search that's going on right now for me is what we do with Ralph next season in that in that consultancy role. I feel like whether it's Ralph or it's somebody else, that gap between boardroom and manager needs to be filled. It can't go. It can't be just like before, where it was Ed Woodward and Ole was reporting to him, or Mourinho was reporting to him. We need cohesion at board level, connecting it to squad level, connecting it to manager level. It needs to be cohesion. We've always since Fergie, we've always bought for the manager, and that's left us in a terrible, terrible position when it's gone wrong, and when it's gone wrong, and we need to get a new manager in. It's always played against us because now our squad is filled up with the last manager's players who the next manager doesn't particularly fancy, but they're on massive wages, so we can't really get rid of them. It's time for us to have some cohesion as a unit. And that's the reason why when Ralph first came into the role, when Ralph first came into the role, it was what he'd be doing next season I was more excited about. The fact that he could possibly fill in that source. It was advertised as a consultancy role, but essentially that sporting director role that's going to help us build a squad that, even if the first manager, it doesn't necessarily work out with him, he's going to help us get another manager that can use this squad, and it doesn't require reconstructive surgery again in order to get the players that the next manager wants. We get quality players from goalkeeper to forwards that the next manager will be able to rely on. We need that person to be in that role. Whether it's Ralph, for me, I'd be happy if it's Ralph. I'd take it if it's Ralph. But if it's not Ralph, it needs to be someone else, because that consultancy role, it can't just be, if that is the role that Ralph is going to be in next season, it can't just be him talking to himself and nobody's listening to him. It needs to be, it needs to be, it needs to be cohesive. It needs to be somebody with a football brain putting together this squad and thinking, how can we create the best squad for the long term? How do we plan long term with this squad so that we can look forward past the current manager? Because the next manager is not going to be here forever. But how can I identify a style of player that's going to play the way that we want to, that has the characteristics that we want, that's going to be useful for the manager after the current? We've never really thought about that. We've never really thought about that. We gave Mourinho the players that he wanted for the large part, but we never thought about how that had impact after the for the manager after Mourinho, because we thought, yeah, Mourinho's gonna be a that. It all goes back to us wanting to replicate everything with Fergie. The manager has to be here for 10, 15 years. It doesn't matter if the next manager, this manager is going to be here for 10, 15 years. That's not modern day football. It does not work like that no more. It does not work like that no more. The players are going to outlast the manager. It is what it is. That's modern day football. The players are going to outlast the manager more time. So it has to be a case where the players can suit the next manager. I got a question here. Big up Tommy in the building. Are you worried about Ralph's taste in players? No, not particularly, because I haven't had a chance to judge him really on the type of players he'd bring to a bigger club. I've seen like his scouting for what was it, Leipzig and Salzburg was exemplary, to be fair, and he brought the right type of players to their clubs in order for them to be successful. In terms of United, I feel like he's got his own philosophy and he's got a strong belief in the way he wants football to be played. And I feel like he's identified enough problems with the squad to know, okay, I need this, and this next season for us to be successful. For me, he's identified a lot of problems with United, and I'd be willing to back his flavor of player because of the fact that he's identified those problems. A lot of previous managers just didn't acknowledge problems that were so blatant and so barefaced that it made me think, what's going on with your player ID? Like, what's going on with the type of player you want? But with Ralph, he's identified some problems, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt next season where he's got a transfer window or two to bring in some players that can suit Manchester United in the long term. I'm willing to give him that what would I call it? That leap of faith, or that sort of what's the word? What's the phrase I'm looking for? Benefit of the doubt. That's the phrase I'm looking for. I'm willing to give him that benefit of the doubt. But again, it can't just be the case of, as I said earlier in the show, it just can't be the case of, um, he's picked these players, they have to come through. They have to be good. There's no way they're not going to be good. I'm going to judge it off what I see. So he's got the chance to bring in his players, and because of the fact that we have to think more long term, I'm willing to, okay, I'll give it some time and see what it's saying. Maybe it won't come up straight away, but I'm willing to give it some time. But I will not let I will not let myself lie. I won't lie to myself about what I'm seeing. If it's making sense, it's making sense. It's not always reflected in the wins or the goals or the assists. But if the team is making sense structurally and it feels like there's just some tweaks that need to be made, and it's not necessarily a problem with the players or a problem with the manager, then I'll hold my hands up and say I'm willing to give it time to see how it comes together. But I won't lie to myself if we're in a situation where we're not really creating chances, we're not really in any period of the game, we're not really we're not scoring goals, then you can't lie to yourself about them sort of things. I hear you. Whoever you I'm interested to see, however, who gets promoted from youth side, because you men have bare talent there. Facts. Facts. Man United under 18s in the FA Youth Cup final. Big up them. Big up them. And yeah, there's a couple man that I think should be getting chances next season, because it's looking likely we're going to be in the Europa League or Europa Conference League, God forbid. But just don't let me be in any of them. But yeah, there should be a couple players. Again, Hannibal and Ahmad have been around the first team squad already. I hope they're given chances to impress. That's all I hope. Because if they're not ready, then you'll see it. But the way we've relied on players that have consistently been inconsistent without giving a chance to some of the other players, it's not right. It's not right. We need to be able to offer chances to some of the younger players who haven't had a chance to prove themselves. And if they don't prove themselves, then you hold your hands up and you say they need a loan, or maybe they're just not cut out for this level. Fair enough. But we need to give opportunities to these players, because we're relying consistently on players that have let us down, and let us down again and again and again. And it's old. It's so old. We have to spring something new in there. We have to spring something new. But my main takeaway from that is that, in terms of the Ralph situation, is that the consultancy role just can't be an image. It can't be him just there talking to himself. He needs to have an input in what the squad is going to look like, not just in the next year, but over the next 5 years, 6 years, because that's the only way we're going to successfully build a squad. What do you want the squad to look like in 6 years? Who do you still want to be here in 3 or 4 years? Who do we have to avoid giving contracts to? Contracts is another big one. We absolute anybody until a manager is sorted, and until Ralph's position or the potential sporting director or consultant, whatever you want to call it, Until those things are ironed out and we've got an actual plan for how we're going to move forward, absolutely no one can get a contract. Absolutely, I know it's gonna mean that some players are gonna look for moves because they're gonna be uncertain and they've got their own lives to live. And you know what? That's fair enough. You got to bite the bullet on that one. But if you want to get it right this season, over the next 3 seasons, you have to let the manager and you have to let the sporting director decide what direction this squad is gonna go in. Because if you give a contract to somebody that the manager doesn't want, you're there labeled with a £200,000 problem. And that's a big problem to have, a massive problem to have. So absolutely, there's a couple people that are going to be looking for renewals until the potential manager and sporting director have given it the okay. Absolutely nobody can be given a contract. That includes Paul Pogba, I'm afraid. Like, I'm sure United want to keep Pogba, but until the next manager has said, okay, I'm relying on Pogba for it, because his contract's going to be in a like, going to be at least 350k to 400, at least. And that's a big, big expenditure for a player that the next manager may not potentially want. They may not want him. They may not rely on him. So we need to make sure that the next manager, the next sporting director, have an absolute say in who stays and who goes. We cannot afford to fall into player power. So what if you haven't got your contract? I know. You need to plan for the future as well. I know it's tough. It's tough, but this is the situation that we're in. It's a rebuild. You may not potentially be here if the next manager don't want you. So we're just gonna have to wait until the summer. Wait until the managers had a chance to assess the squad, had a chance to decide who he wants to keep. Until then, absolutely cannot get a new contract. Absolutely cannot. Ralph is an honest man, no PR thing. So I hope he takes that honesty to the higher ups and makes the right decision, because bare players need to cut. Absolute facts. I think apparently he hired a PR team as well because apparently he was being too honest. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, he's genuinely, because he's got a lot of the people that's been involved in United have had a stake in United previously and may have a reason to want to soften the blow. Whether it's to protect an old teammate, protect a friend, they've had a reason to soften the blow. Rafa's literally came here on a 6-month thing, and he's got no reason to lie. I get it. He's got genuinely no reason to be untruthful. It's not like I think he knows he's not in the running for the permanent manager position. So he can generally just take these next 6 months or however many months it is, and just be honest. Like, he doesn't have to. I remember, what was it, after the Tottenham match? He was like, the reporter was like, after that hat trick, do you agree that Ronaldo isn't one of the problems at United? And he was like, clearly we've got a lot of problems. Like, otherwise I wouldn't be here. If we didn't have a lot of problems, I would not be a temporary manager on the touchline right now. It'd be a different manager. But clearly we have a lot of problems that need to be solved. He indirectly said, yeah, Ronaldo, the way Ronaldo plays is one of the problems right now. He's indirectly said it, but he also acknowledged that there's other problems. It's not just Ronaldo, but there's other problems in the team. He's been very, very honest from the jump, and he's got no reason not to be. So again, that's why him taking that honesty to the higher ups is just as crucial. Like, the higher ups listening to that honesty, because a lot of, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that it's going to be an expensive rebuild. They don't want to hear that we're not going to be competing for titles in the near future. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear, yeah, if I put this amount of money, it's going to take us to the title within 12 months. That's what they want to hear. But I don't think Ralph is going to tell them that. Ralph is going to be honest and say, it's going to take time. We're going to need this, this, and this. And then next summer, we're going to need this, this, and this. That honesty needs to be listened to. Otherwise, there's no point. We're just shouting into a vacuum. Nothing will happen. That honesty needs to be taken into account. All right. Stepping away from the whole manager situation at United, the next thing I want to talk about, Paul Pogba obviously went away on international duty and was speaking to L'Equipe about a range of different topics, and I just want to touch on a couple of them. The first one, which was probably the most important one that he talked about, was the fact that he suffered depression. He suffered depression um over the last couple of years, and he's been depressed over the last couple of years. He said, to paraphrase him, I don't have the exact quote, but he essentially said, we have to be perfect every 3 days. Like every 3 days, you have to be perfect, otherwise you're being judged, or they're gonna criticize you if you're not perfect every 3 games, every 3 days. Um, there's been times when he said he didn't really recognize at the time he was slipping into depression. It was just he didn't want to be around people. He just wanted to be inside. And obviously, that's one of the main indicators that you're slipping into depression, where you don't really want to be around people. You just want to be inside. Um, you're not really communicating with nobody, and I think it really, really, really emphasizes how slimy um some of the comments that Gary Neville made this week in terms of seeing United players out and about after the Champions League exit or whatever. Gary Neville essentially said, I can't believe these lot are um out here at UFC and at F1 after being knocked out of competitions. They should essentially go into hiding for a little bit um after being knocked out of these competitions. And after hearing what Pogba said, it even just resonated with me even more. The fact that you as a footballer aren't recognizing that, or as a former footballer isn't recognizing the fact that um you don't like you know how lonely the footballing position can be, like especially if you're not in form, and you're telling them you shouldn't even be stepping outside. You should be hiding away in your house. Isn't that more likely to slip you into those sort of thoughts where you don't even want to be around people, and you're not happy, you're feeling even more depressed. That's the sort of thing, that's the sort of thing that snowballs into a depression effect. So it's even more slimy as a former footballer that you'd say that, because that's the exact, like, regardless of the fact that they've played rubbish, like I acknowledge most of these that have played absolutely pants. They played rubbish. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging the fact that they've played rubbish, but just to then say, "Oh yeah, you need to stay inside your house. You need to. I can't believe you're being seen out enjoying yourself." These lot still have a life to live outside of football. That will never ever change, and I don't think it ever should change, because they're footballers. They're human beings well before they're footballers. If they're not performing well, do they want to mope about it at home and send themselves into even further state of unhappiness and sadness and just moping about in the house? Or do you want to be around people, get some happiness back? Again, this isn't me saying I'm excusing their poor performances, but to say that they should be inside the house locking themselves away just because they haven't played well. They're not robots, they're human beings. They still need human interaction. They still want to enjoy themselves outside of football. So for you to say that is just mad slimy, and honestly, it's something that I've grown to be accustomed with in terms of Gary Neville. Him making those sort of comments, it don't even surprise me in the slightest anymore. Don't even surprise me in the slightest. I really do hope that Pogba is able to get the help and talk to, because he said I don't know whether he's experiencing it now. Only he'd be able to tell you that. But depression can be a very, very lonely place, and it can be very hard to get out of that sort of rut and get out of that feeling of just wanting to be by yourself and not wanting to be supported. I hope he's been able to find that support and get that support, because depression's a lonely place and nobody deserves to be feeling that lonely. I'll put this comment on the board. On Ronaldo, do you see problems arising with the new manager, whether Poch or Ten Hag, in Ronaldo taking instructions and being able to contribute to the defensive side of the game? 100%. 100%. Ronaldo was bought on vibes because that's the way Oli played. Ronaldo was bought on vibes because that's the way Oli played. So him with another manager that's got more of a structure. Again, we think about Ralph. I think Ralph had an idea of what he wanted to do as well, but again, he's here for 6 months. He's not able to do wholesale changes in 6 months. He kind of got to work with the players that he's got, and he's got to try and make the best of the players that he's got. The next manager shouldn't have to do that. Again, we're talking about building a squad for the next 5-6 years. If Ronaldo doesn't fit into that squad, we make him a squad player. He's got another year on his contract. Fair enough. I think it's going to be very hard to ship him out if the next manager doesn't want him. I still think he can have an impact off the bench or in a lesser role. But if it's not what the player what the next manager wants or needs, we absolutely cannot force ourselves to play around him or to build a team around him. This is going to be a 38-year-old man. 38-year-old man leading the line for 50 plus games of the season. It don't make sense. It don't make, especially if you plan to play a high intensity game that's going to involve a lot of sprinting, a lot of running, a lot of counter pressing. We cannot rely on Ronaldo to be our main striker because that's simply not his game anymore. It's not his game. His game is about being in the right position at the right time. If the next manager doesn't feel like Ronaldo is able to offer what they need from their striker, we absolutely have to move on. We should absolutely be looking at players that the manager and the sporting director feel can fulfill their role in the team, because it's all about what you can do for me tactically. What can you do for me tactically? If you can't fulfill the role tactically, then you can't be on the pitch. You need to have some sort of hardline idea of what you want. Otherwise, there's no point. So, in terms of that question, I feel like the next manager shouldn't have to make that compromise with Ronaldo. If it's not what you need, you turn him into a squad player. Because it's not like his performances this season haven't warranted a demotion in terms of squad status. He hasn't been exactly our best player. He hasn't been spectacular. So the next manager, if needs be, has to make that decision where they're not relying on Ronaldo anymore. Another one of the comments Pogba made when he was speaking to L'Equipe is about his position. So he was saying, I feel comfortable with Deschamps because he knows me, he knows what position I play, and he plays me where I'm comfortable. At United, what role do I play? It's always changing. The partners I'm playing with is always changing. And it's facts, to be fair. It's facts. Left wing bar, playing as the 6, playing as the 8 in a 4-3-3. Against Manchester City, he was playing up front. When has he ever, he's never had a consistent partner or position really over his last 5 years. Never. So I understand why he's more comfortable at France with Deschamps than he has been at United, because quite frankly, he knows what is happening at France. He knows where he's going to play. He knows he's going to be consistently playing there. And that's what makes a player feel comfortable if they know what's coming the next game. At United, one game he could start left wing, the next game he could be in front of the defense playing the 6. He could be playing right wing. It's a lot. It's at United, it could be anything for him. So I understand why, in terms of position, he's not really comfortable. People will say, "Oh, he hasn't been able to make a position his own because of his own deficiencies." I'd say that plays a part in it too. 100%. He's got his own deficiencies that don't allow him to necessarily play in the 6 consistently, because he'd give up the ball a lot or he'd take unnecessary risks. In terms of left wing, he can't play left wing consistently because we possibly have a better option in we do have a better option in Jadon Sancho. In terms of the 8, we haven't always played with 8s. We haven't always played 4-3-3. So that 8 position hasn't always been there. Again, it's too much flux. It's too much flux. You can't be settled if you don't know what's going to happen from game to game as a footballer. I don't believe that's possible. From game to game, if you don't know what's happening, I don't see how you can be comfortable. So I get it. Do you feel the new manager's vision for Pogba and the team could be enough to convince Pogba to stay? Yeah, definitely. I don't think Pogba has. I think it's going to be an interesting summer, because I'm not sure how many suitors Pogba's going to have. Possibly PSG. I can see PSG being in the Real Madrid. I don't know, because I'm sure they want to get Tchouaméni. I'm sure of it. I'm sure they want Tchouaméni. So I don't know whether they're gonna have space for Tchouaméni and Pogba. I doubt it. So if the next manager has a certain vision and he lays out some plans for Pogba, I can see that convincing him to stay, because I'm sure that as much as it's been stressed, I know Pogba really, really loves United and he loves playing for United, but it just hasn't made sense for him at United so far. I feel like we can all agree that it just hasn't made sense in terms of a consistent manager, a consistent position. It hasn't made sense. And if he was to, and we know the quality of the player there, if he was to go to another team, he'd win trophies. If he was to go to a more structured team, PSG, he'd win trophies by default because PSG more often than not win the trophies in France. Whether he'd win the big ears of the Champions League is a different case. But if it was Real Madrid, if it was PSG, I'd have faith that he'd win trophies. He's even been linked with a couple of English clubs. I think Chelsea's one of them. I'm not sure about the other one. Could you imagine a midfield of Pogba, Kovacic, Kante? That's spooky. That's spooky. Just even having that rotation of midfielders would be spooky. So he's gonna have options this summer. But if the manager's able to convince him, maybe. But I personally don't see it. I feel like he's decided, look, I love United, but it just hasn't worked, and I want to win trophies. That was another theme of his interviews, his comments with L'Equipe. He said, of course, I'm not happy with how the last couple of years I've went because I haven't won trophies. He wants to win trophies. He's 29. He's going to want to win big trophies, and it's going to be a rebuild. It's going to take a while. I'm not sure that Pogba's going to want to stick around for the rebuild. He's the prime of his career. He's going to want to go somewhere where he can win trophies right now. So um, it'll be tough for the next manager to convince him to stay. Very, very tough. Very, very tough. But we'd have to see. We'd have to see. Um, Finally, last thing I want to talk about. Wazza, Premier League Hall of Fame. Always have to give him my flowers. Always have to give him the flowers because what a player. What a player. What a player. What a player. Dumb. What a player. Oh my God. Will we ever see a player like Rooney that you knew could drop into the 10 and be your best creator, then play up front and give you 20 goals, 20 to 30 goals a season? It's nuts. It's actually nuts. It's actually nuts. I'm so happy he got into the Premier League Hall of Fame because boy, that's generally one of the greatest players the game has seen. You know, a lot of people talk about his decline, and his decline was nuts, but we have to remember he started playing football from 16, started playing men's football from 16. And it's not like he was just dropped in there as give him some trust minutes. Like he said it in his documentary, like at 16, I was the best player at Everton. And it's not like he was capping, he was genuinely one of the best players at Everton at the age of 16. This wasn't somebody that was just there to make up the numbers. He was genuinely a phenomenon. It was genuinely something we've never seen before. A 16-year-old stepping in and badding up grown men. We've never seen that before. So yeah, when he got to the around 29, 30, yeah, he did decline. Yeah, 100% he did decline. But he's got them. He had them years on his legs that I don't think. I'm trying to genuinely think about another player that would have clocked up the mileage by 29 that Rooney would have clocked up, and there's not many coming to my. There's not many. There's genuinely not many that's coming to my mind. At 16, that's a 13-year run from 16 to 29. Like a lot of people would kill for the run they had at 16 from 16 to 29. Yeah, the last couple of years, he just couldn't maintain it physically anymore. But a lot of people would kill for the run that he had from 16 to 29. Favorite Rooney moment for United? This changes all the time, man. Honestly. I remember the counter-attacking goal that I think it was against Bolton. The counter-attacking goal that he scored against Bolton. That's still one of my favorite goals to this moment because that was literally what was it? I think it was like 2006, 2007 that we scored that. And at this point, I'm still a young boy. I'm still kind of understanding the game properly. And just seeing us, like, that's literally when I deeped us going from back to front, that lightning quick, that didn't seem real. Like, that's when I knew we had something fake on our hands. Like, obviously, I knew Ronaldo was wavy. I knew Rooney was wavy. I knew we had the Ferdinands, the Scholes, but I didn't really understand it. But seeing us play, that goal just always stuck with me. It's one of the few goals that I watched live when I was young, and I think I was in primary school at that time, and it's genuinely stuck with me. Just the way we were able to transition from back to front, that wasn't normal. So right now in this moment, I'd say that's probably one of my favorite Rooney moments. Messi, what got started in 2006, but even then, Ronaldinho had the keys. Ronaldinho had the keys. I don't think he did. Messi become a consistent starter until 2008, 2007. Let me actually get some of the numbers on these. Bear with me. I actually want to look at, because again, Messi's a shout still. Messi's only 34 to be fair, so he definitely started young. But made his debut for Barcelona in 2004. Let me see how many appearances he racked up. 2004, 2005, he racked up 7 appearances. 2005, 2006, 17. 2006, 2007, 26. 2007, 2008, 28. So yeah, no, I guess that's pretty similar. 2004, 2005, he would have been what? How old? Quick maths. Yeah, he would have 17. Yeah, Messi similar still. I'll give you that one. Yeah, I'll give you that one, Tommy. Yeah, Messi similar. Yeah, born from a young age. 2004, 2005, he would have been like 17-ish. Yeah, I'll give you Messi. But yeah, literally, we look at the company he's keeping. There's not many that start from that young and are able to maintain it for over a decade. We just give him his props, man. You just gotta give him his props. That's it. But that's been United We Ball this evening, man. Thank you lot for joining me this evening. It's been great just chopping it up, getting some thoughts. That's why I called it State of Play. I took a couple of days away from United. I just thought, let me get some thoughts together. Let me think about what United is really going through right now. I've just been talking for nearly an hour. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Make sure you smash the like button if you're watching this back. Smash the subscribe button as well. Hit that subscribe button. We're going to be back playing FIFA on Friday, so make sure you lock into that, playing FIFA on Friday. I might do some career modes. I might play somebody. We'll find out. I haven't done career mode in a second, you know. So you lot join me on that journey. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel, as I said, and have a wonderful evening. Peace and love, prosperity, all that good stuff. Good night.
Now listening to The Final Third.
I think Pepe's so comfortable.
Wow, you should be in
just need to shake him.
You should be in prison. We bailed you out. We bailed you out to come and play this season. You're out here disgracing us. You should be in prison.